Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Black Box Engineering. So, have you ever played a puzzle game that just kind of clicks with your brain? It's almost like it was designed just for you. For me, that's pretty rare and really hits the spot for my brain, especially with my ADHD. I have incredibly particular tastes when it comes to puzzles. I'm a pretty hands-on person. I prefer if someone shows me how something works or gives me the tools to figure out the mechanism of how something works. I can learn independently. I just prefer building on my own learning model from what's already known by having clear steps or tools. Here's what I don't like: vagueness, ambiguity, theory without application, and being brought out of a process. So here's a list of 5 puzzle games that kind of really jive with how my brain works, and I'll have footage to show you some gameplay between these to show you if you haven't heard of them. Some of them you probably have, but so first one is called Circuits. It is a puzzle game that involves music and timing. The second one is Evo Explores. It's kind of a developer's own shot of making like a Monument Valley kind of game on Steam, but a different storyline. You have to figure out the right sequence to get out of a level with really cool, like impossible geometry and mechanics. Hacknet, which is a virtual hacking game that gives you moderately complex commands and requires timing to figure out a really cool story, and the DLC is really cool too. I just like how the game works. All Portal games, they all use limited tools to figure out how to escape a level. Sometimes they expand on mechanics, but it's still relatively simple, but they end up being these convoluted solutions that feels really satisfying to solve.
Plug me in and I'll turn the lights on. Let there be light. That's God. I was quoting God. Oh, look at that. It's turning. Ominous. But probably fine, as long as it doesn't start, moving up. Now. Escape pod, escape pod. It's moving up. Okay. No, don't worry. I've got it. This should slow it down. No, makes it go faster. Uh-oh.
Power up initiated.
Okay, don't panic. All right, stop panicking. I can still stop this. Oh, there's a password. Okay, it's fine. I'll just hack it. Not a problem. A. Okay. C. Wait, did I do B? Do you have a pen? Start writing these down.
Power up complete.
I don't. Okay. Listen. All right, new plan. Act natural. You've done nothing wrong. Hello.
Oh, it's you.
You know her?
Here it is. Why don't you just do it? Trust me, it's an easier way out than whatever asinine plan your friend came up with.
Oh, what? How stupid does she think we are? Wait, where are you going?
Oh, look. There's a deer. You probably can't see it. Get closer. The irony is you were almost at the last test. Here it is. Why don't you just do it? Trust me, it's an easier way out than whatever asinine plan your friend came up with.
Oh, what? How stupid does she think we are? Oh!
And then, obviously, Satisfactory. It's not strictly a puzzle game, but there's a lot of elements that require high levels of logic and analytical thinking. So why do these click so well with me? Well, I think most of those games provide an open enough approach where you can use critical thinking skills without having to depend on external solutions so much. I mean, it's possible I had to look things up from time to time when I first played the games. I don't think that was always a problem necessarily. If I did look something up and then I played the game, and then I sighed afterwards saying, why didn't I think of that? It's weird because Satisfactory might require tutorials or like how-tos to kind of get to a good spot, but once you figure out the general process, you repeat it yourself. It reminds me a lot about the engineering process, especially when you're given the limited resources and space. It reminds me a lot about printed circuit board design. For example, I think all of these games have something in common. There are processes that require a small number of tools to figure the game out. They're not really simple games, but the tools that are required are simple. Circuits only has a few different sound nodes and ways to make the sequence correct. Evo Explorers also has a small selection of ways to change the stage, but it still requires a pretty deep level of thought and a knowledge of spatial reasoning. Hacknet gives you pretty straightforward commands that are somewhat complex, but they tell you exactly which tools to use when required, but you still have to think on the spot, especially with like avoiding traces and stuff like that. Portal games have some complex solutions to escape the level, but all the tools that you need are really simple, even if it does, like I said, expand upon it with different things in the level. Satisfactory does have a more complicated systems inside of it, but the tools that you use are relatively simple. The mechanics have been made really understandable and pretty straightforward. It just becomes a matter of logic and simple math at the end. Yeah, each tier kind of gets more complex, but once you figure out what parts you need, well, then you find the right setup. You just use that over and over. It's pretty cool. There's really nothing too obscure for the most part for all of these games. On the contrary, these other games are ones that I never bothered to finish. The first one is Fez, which is a 2D/3D puzzle game that has platforming elements and complex solution to level traversal. The second one, Talos Principle. It's a 3D environment puzzle game, kind of like Portal, where you have a lot of tools to figure out how to get out of a level. Animal Well, I think the first layer is really cool, and I've managed to do that all myself. But the other layers are very obscure to me. Like, I don't even know how people figure out in-depth things to get further into the game, and it confuses me. Viewfinder, it's a really cool idea for using perspective to traverse a level, but it adds a lot of other mechanics that just become a bog down. And Antechamber, which is a complex version of Portal, really, but it has mind-bending of effects and kind of out-of-the-box solutions that don't really seem obvious sometimes. So why do I dislike those so much, even if some of the tools might be simple? I think there's a lot of layers of abstraction that require you to go through too many solutions. The steps to these games never felt obvious to me. Fez starts simple, but then it gets really complicated with QR codes and obscure solutions and actually require a little digging outside the game. Talos Principle becomes overly complex in my head. I started thinking too hard where the solution might be simple, but the way it's communicated is overly complex, or there's just too many ways where you can solve it incorrectly. Animal Well's deeper mechanics require looking into community posts and delving really deep into really complex solutions that require multiple steps. And there's a lot of moments where I started to think, well, how was I supposed to figure that out on my own? Viewfinders, again, starts really cool, and I like the mind-blowing effect that you can use the perspective to travel throughout the level. But then later, it gets obscure or vague because even more mechanics are added. It sort of overwhelms me because I start thinking, well, I tried this. I'm going to try something else. No, that didn't work. And then I go back because I forgot I tried something. It just a vicious loop, you know. And then Anti-Chamber is pretty much a mind bend throughout the whole experience. There's a lot of tools and a lot of solutions, and it's sometimes really unclear where you have to go. I have walked in circles in that game far too often. I think I actually had to use a walkthrough to finish that game. I wanted to finish it, and I did, but it didn't feel really good to just depend on a walkthrough, really. Honestly, the game really makes me motion sick too. The colors and movements can make me feel a little gross if I play too long. I feel like any game that brings you out of it ruins the experience for me, at least when it's done on purpose. Another thing is obscurity and vagueness, like I said. I feel like making things too hidden can kind of force one to step out and look something up because it was made that way on purpose. I understand that some people like the more difficult approach to puzzles, that it's completely valid. It just kind of breaks something in my head personally. I'll lose interest in a game if it just becomes too involved or there's too many steps. My brain will just be like, I'm tired of figuring this out. I'm just going to look it up, or I just do that too much and I just quit. So if I have to ask, how was I supposed to know that too much? It, again, it just makes me upset. Too many layers makes things seem like the process is just too complex for me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you have similar experience with any puzzle games? What clicks with you? Leave your answer down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and remember, think outside the box and stay wise. See ya.